Join us today for another cave adventure. Hey guys, welcome back. Last time we went to Little Wyandotte Tour, and today we're going to go on the Big Wyandotte Tour. We've told it's probably a lot more challenging than the small one, and it's about 2 hours that you're underground, a lot of stairs. So let's see how we do. There is so much history here. This land was owned by the Rothrock family for many years, and there was a lodge here on the property that ended up having to be torn down. We're hoping that someday they'll get the funding and the approval to rebuild this lodge. Prior to our tour, we were able to see and hold a bat skeleton, and a stalagmite.
So let's head on down.
We walked down the pathway, down the hill to the cave. It was so scenic. The landscape is beautiful.
This is the original entrance to the cave. It wasn't quite this deep. The state dug it out and put in the stairway, the concrete stairs here. But this is the original entrance. The cave has a really long history. They have dated artifacts back to 2200 BC, when Native Americans used the cave to mine chert, which we think of, I call it flint. There's a lot of flint in this cave, and they mined it to make arrowheads, axe heads, and other tools. So it is specific to this area. So they can recognize it as coming from this area. So the Native Americans had a huge trade network that they mined it out of here and traded it. So mined aragonite, which is a mineral, and they used it to make jewelry and ceremonial pipes. And then in 1806, William Henry Harrison came to the cave to look at it as a source of saltpeter. 1819, one of the Rothrock men came into this area, Henry Peter. He bought a quarter section of land. The cave was on it. He wasn't really thrilled about the cave. He was a timber man. He built a mill. We're going to see bats in here, and they'll be flying around you, but don't worry about them. Bats have excellent vision, plus they have like a sonar and echolocation that they can tell where you are. Here's when they get confused. If you start waving your arms around, it confuses them.
You see the steel bars and the doorway placed in the opening. This keeps people out, but the bats can come and go as they please.
This is some of the equipment they use to process the saltpeter. So they use that nitrogen-rich bat guano, they mix it with wood ash, they process it, and it ends up being an ingredient in gunpowder. So during the War of 1812, they used it for that purpose. This is the original pathway. The Native Americans would have come through here.
The history of this cave is absolutely amazing. It was so awesome to know that we were walking the same path that Native Americans took inside the cave. Some of the passageways in the cave were very dark, and the paths were anything but even. We had to watch every step.
It goes down about 20 feet, and they found bark that Native Americans had used as torches. So it's highly probable that the Native Americans used it as meat storage of some kind. But they found a lot of small animal bones down there. You go down the hole about 20 feet, you go under all of this breakdown rock, and I'll show you where you come out on the other end.
I'm gonna look down this hole. Oh, I see that big stick down there. I don't think I'd want to go down there though.
Down that hole?
No, I would not. Look at, oh my gosh. No, not for me. Okay, here's
I'm gonna
the
take a picture of a couple of these
advertising. Yeah, I'm gonna take my time going up the hill. When the Rothrocks owned the cave, advertisers were allowed to go down in the cave and put advertisements on the walls.
On the left is the end of the animal pit. So you would have crawled underneath the rock here and come out.
There were an awful lot of stairs on this tour, and I heard someone say they left their DNA on one of these rocks when they whacked their head. Don't hit your head on this.
Yeah, I see that.
It's low.
We are only open from Memorial Day to Labor Day. So when they first came down here in 1850, it was in November and the bats were hibernating. They like this ceiling right here. It is made of gypsumite, which you may have in your house as drywall. It's kind of chalky. The bats can get their little fingernails in it and hang here nicely. Gypsumite is white. But for thousands of years, Native Americans came through here with torches and the bats were in here living on it. So it's kind of dark now. There are 6 varieties of bats that actually use this cave. The gray bats use the cave pretty much all year round and they raise their babies in here. Most of the brown bats, the big brown, the little brown, the Indianas, they're out for the summer.
When the Rothrocks owned the cave, someone had found a great deal on onion sets, so they rented space to store them down in the cave. The onion sets did not store well, and this is the remnants.
Back here, we don't go in there because of the bats. So we leave that space alone. But something unusual happened in here. When they opened the cave, when they opened this passage in 1850, the passages we walked through have been dug out into trenches so we could walk through. Mr. Rothrock wanted the trenches dug so we could walk through there. So he hired some guys to dig the trenches.
The guys wanted to work at night, and as it turns out, they were down here counterfeiting money, not digging trenches.
That is the oldest monument in the cave. It's called the sundial. We are now in what we call the junction room, but what it really is a flint mine. If you look on the wall here, see that vein of flint going through?
Oh yeah.
And then underneath, you see those are flint nodules. The flint is specific to this area. You see how it's a really dark blue-gray?
Yeah.
So when they find it in other places, they recognize that it came from here. When they look at this flint, it was superior to flint in other areas. It cracked clean, it held a sharp point. Now, when the Native Americans came in here, used was this. It is from the shagbark hickory tree. And when the Europeans came in, there was a lot of this in this room. And there were bundles of it. So what the Native Americans would do, they would light the end of it, and one of these pieces right here would last about 45 minutes for light. The bundles, they estimated would last 5 to 7 hours. So these guys are down here for hours at a time mining this flint. They found stone tools that they used to break it away. They found antlers that they used the antlers to pick the nodules out. And I've got a nodule here you can pass around. They're amazingly heavy. Native Americans would have crawled through there carrying like deerskin pouches of these nodules. Here's a piece of one of the veins. You can pass that around too.
It's heavy.
So these guys are working in here all day in this mine, and then they're carrying this stuff out. There's no stairways. They carried it out, and they traded these pieces for other people to make arrowheads.
It was so interesting being down in this flint mine, just imagining how it was for the Native Americans down here with no lights, just those torches.
But it's not. It's just the sound reflecting off the ceiling here. Also, if you look at the ceiling, the rock formations look like thunderclouds. This is called Thunder Owl. Here. In this passage, there's breakdown rock everywhere. Well, they had this great idea that when you brought your group in, you could build a monument. So this one is dated up here, 1893. It has their names. This is a pretty elaborate one. But they used the stones that were laying around to build these monuments.
This was a genius idea to allow people to come down here and build these monuments, and it helped clear all the breakdown rock that was in the pathways. And we were also told that when the lodge was here, there was no air conditioning back then, so people would come down here in the cool cave, build their monuments, and the lodge would actually bring them lunch inside the cave.
Sometime after the state bought it, some people from the Wyandotte Nation, which is now in Oklahoma, came to the area and toured the cave, and they gifted this rock here. So you can see that. Okay, on your right here, does that remind anyone of anything?
A shoe.
A shoe. It's not an ordinary shoe though, it's the devil's footprint. And these are his wicked little followers. These are one of the things in the cave that would be used as a signpost of sorts. If you're at the devil's footprint, you know where you are. See the cave graffiti here? There's a ton of it in this cave, and that particular, when it's black marks like that, what they did was they held their candle up close to the ceiling, and the smoke and the soot from the candle would form, and they would write their name.
This room is called the Hall of Representatives. It's the third largest room in the cave, and it's another breakdown room. We were told that above us is the parking lot.
The white stuff. It looks like tiny needles.
Yeah.
It's epsomite, which is turned into Epsom salt.
And we also saw a dead bat down there by the epsomite. This little guy on the wall was called the Easter Bunny because it looked like a bunny. When you're underground, it's really otherworldly. It doesn't look like you're on Earth anymore. It looks like you're on another planet. We saw a lot of bats hanging from the ceiling when we were down there. We got a picture of a few. Areas like this in the cave were very well lit, but note to self, next time we go in a cave, we're going to bring a headlamp or a flashlight. The only trouble we had on this tour was places that it was so dark that we couldn't see where to walk.
Easy. So from here on out, you've got a bunch of wet steps going up. You've got a bunch of wet steps going down. You've got a ladder to climb that's probably 25 feet tall.
So at this point, she gave us the option to take the easy way out. We, however, chose the hard way. And I'm glad that we did because we would not have gotten to see all of the rest of this beautiful cave had we taken the easy way out. This was all hand dug. Can you even imagine? The places like this that it's rounded out on the sides was the place where they turned the donkeys around. We were told that they brought donkeys down here to carry the dirt out, and they kept the donkeys down here for over a year, which sounds kind of cruel to me, but I guess it was so difficult to get the donkeys down there, they just left them until they were finished. So thankful for this guy ahead of me with his light. He saved me on more than one occasion. And then we come up to another donkey turnaround.
This is a crater room. They call it this because as you're walking up the stairs there, when you look across the floor, there's a pool of water here. It's only about 2 inches deep. It's filled up solely by water dripping off the roof. But as you're coming up the steps and look across it, it has a weird reflection quality to it. You see the ceiling reflected in it, and it looks like you're looking in a crater. This little room has every cave formation in it. It has stalactites, it has stalagmites, it has stalactites. It's got columns and pillars.
Such beautiful formations to see in this cave. And look, more steps. At the bottom of these stairs, you literally hit the ground running. Another bat just hanging around sleeping. And this is the 25-foot staircase, nearly straight up. Here we go.
the cave system. But this is Rothrock's Cathedral. This is Monument Mountain in front of us. It's another breakdown room. So water would have come in here, swirled around, weakened the ceiling, and all of this rock in front of us broke down and piled up here. If you were to walk around the bottom of the mountain, it's about 1/4 of a mile. That's how big this room is. So before 1941, you came in on the other side. You didn't come in on this side. So all the tours and all the people that came in from the other side. When you're going to see what the mountain looks like from this side, but it's totally different from the other side.
Really?
If you look behind you, you can see 1,000 years, this mountain has been broke down for a long, long time. Because those stalagmites are good size up there. If you look up above them, can you see the stalactites growing around the edge there? But the stalactites up there are still dripping, so those stalagmites are still growing. But now remember, hardly anybody saw this view until 1941 when they made the passageway here. So I want you to remember what this side of the mountain looks like. Because when we get around the other side, you're going to be amazed. It looks entirely different. So we're going to go up the mountain. It's dry. Is this a huge room?
Yeah.
You can see, in this room, you can see the layers of limestone. Now, we're in the dry part, so this path is dry, but there's no handrail. And it is just, they put dirt here. So we're going to weave up the mountain. If you have to lean down and touch a stone, that's fine. We just don't want anybody falling off the side of the mountain.
What a spectacular view. But famous last words, we don't want anybody falling off the side of the mountain. That's what I kept saying as we walked up this mountain nearly straight up. And there's the other side of the mountain. We'll get an even better view as we go down, you guessed it, another set of stairs. There it is. Look at that pile of breakdown rock. How would you like to climb up that instead of stairs? Not me. Yay! More stairs. They weren't kidding when they said there's a lot of steps on this tour. Then we come to a place where a group called the Odd Fellows met in the cave.
There are usual meetings in here, there's ceremonies, there were weddings and other things held here. These benches are their original benches. They've been in here since the late 1800s. On the ceiling, you see their symbol, friendship, love, and it's either trust or truth, but that is their symbol. The real significance of this room is, if you look around, it's a flint mine. So it's not quite as nice as the other one as far as having a really nice vein and nodules, but the Native Americans mined this room also. We're back in the junction room, the first flint room we were in.
Yep.
That passage over there, when we were in the Pillar Palace and we said, you want it coming out?
You have your bathroom? Yeah.
This is it.
Shortcut.
This is the shortcut. Now, we're going to head on out. Everything we see now, we've seen before. So we're on our way out.
If you look closely, you'll see some bats flying around this room. And after 2 hours and 15 minutes of being underground, we made our way out. We highly recommend the Big Wyandotte Tour. Click the link that just popped up on your screen to see more of our cave tour videos.